Hey, welcome back to Million Dollar Moves, where we talk about all things mindset, momentum, and making bold moves towards the life and the business you were born to lead. I'm your host, Stacey St. John, and today we are talking about something that so many brilliant women face, and it's imposter syndrome. It is that sneaky little voice that's in your head that says, "Who am I to be doing this?" And to help us unpack it all, we have someone truly incredible, Kim Scaravelli, with us. She is a brand voice strategist, a writer, a coach, and someone who has helped entrepreneurs, executives, and ambitious professionals step fully into their power, not by becoming someone else, but by embracing who they already are. She's also the author of Making Words Work, and she has this beautiful way of helping people find clarity, confidence, and a voice that actually feels like home. Kim, thank you so much for being here and welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's very nice to be here.
So let's dive in. First of all, tell us a little bit about your journey. You've spent years helping professionals shape their voice and their presence. How did you get started in this work and what lights you up about it?
Oh, well, if I were giving you the quick journey forward, I was educated to be a school teacher. I had an undergraduate arts degree, lots of English stuff, and there weren't a lot of jobs at that time teaching school. So I got a job as a sales rep, and I learned all about business through Dun& and Bradstreet. They were a very prestigious firm at the time, but it didn't light a fire under me. So I went out and started my first business instead and enjoyed that a lot and segued that into another business and another business and have to some extent been entrepreneurial since my early 20s. At some point, I combined the educational and the writing and the entrepreneurism and started working with B2B groups who wanted to take things that they were doing in real spaces and move them into online spaces, which at the time was new and inventive.
Yeah.
And people were asking questions like, do you think that internet thing will catch on? Not to date myself, but I remember that. And the other big question was, do you think anybody will buy anything online? These were real questions, right? So my job was to try to make these concrete, um, many cases, large nonprofits, kind of Goliath, big things, but they don't move quickly, and try and bring them to life online.
Mm.
And I learned that there are certain tricks to that trade. There are certain things you can do to sparkle when you're not visually in the room.
Hmm.
And I did that for a really long time. I used my company was called Trust Communications. We had a very prestigious list of clients, and I really enjoyed it. And I still work with some of them, especially the ones that will fly me to Europe. I work with them forever. But really, honestly, I liked the people.
Mm.
So I noticed that I started segueing towards the C-suite executives, the executive directors, the CEOs who were feeling at that point like maybe they were not standing out the way they wanted to in this new online world. And because I was at that point a women's certified business, I did a lot of work with women in business naturally. And so flash forward, now I would say about 70% of my clients are entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, coaches, consultants, and a large portion female.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So there I am.
Amazing. Your career in a nutshell.
My career in a nutshell. And it's all very fun. And it's a reminder, by the way, to everybody out there that life is fluid, life is moving. And this idea that you failed at something yesterday has no impact on what you'll fail at tomorrow, or you're successful at something, but it's just not scratching that itch anymore. Go do something else.
Mhm.
I have enjoyed every moment of my professional career, and I have enjoyed the new moments, but I've never felt like I had to be stuck in that spot forever.
Amen. Amen. Love that so much. I'm curious, obviously you mentioned that you gravitated towards working with people, the C-suite
Mhm.
executives, entrepreneurs, a large amount of them are women. I'm curious, what are some of the common trends that you see across different personality types or, different types of business leaders? What are some patterns that you see that people struggle with when it comes to communication, how they show up?
We struggle with the terrible thing that seems to have been done with us in elementary school. And I don't know why, if I were trying to explain it, when children go to elementary school, for some reason, there are always these little golden apples. And the teacher decides very early on that these people are in some way creative. Now, there is no creativity gene that I am aware of. It's, like you might get diabetes or something, but you're not going to suddenly be born creative.
Right.
And for whatever reason, when they look at that picture that kid drew, or they read that poem that little 8-year-old wrote, and they say, "Oh, is this brilliant? You're so wonderful." It really sticks for that kid. And that kid decides that they are creative and they are amazing, and they go on and develop a certain confidence in their ability to mix paints or splash something on a wall or put their words together. Something bad happens to the rest of them. And it's not deliberate, but somehow, because we have created the illusion that creativity is a gift from the gods, it now leaves the rest of those people feeling like maybe that's just not something they are good at. Maybe they bounce a ball, maybe they're great at math, but we put everyone in these little boxes at a very young age. And it's okay if I didn't get put in the bouncing a ball box. It doesn't come up every day. No one asked me to bounce balls every day.
Right.
But if you start feeling like you are just not good with words, you are just not good at explaining or expressing yourself, you are giving away an incredible amount of your power. And whether you are an introvert or you are an extrovert, you need to be able to have your words and own them. So I feel like the biggest thing that comes up a lot of times for me is I run into very successful people who have abdicated their power to own their own voice. And it's not the same as outsourcing. But if you hire someone to do your social media posts for you, and you get someone else to put all the words on your website, and you have somebody on staff that makes all of your proposals, and blah, 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 every time you send out more of it, you're not building that thing you need to have. It's supposed to be your voice. Those people are supposed to do stuff for you, but they're not supposed to own your voice. So the biggest problem I encounter with people is folks feeling like that's something they have to hire somebody to do for them, because it isn't.
That's so interesting. And I know this has nothing to do with imposter syndrome, but I have to ask because I think for many entrepreneurs, we do outsource those things or we delegate it to team members because for me personally, don't ask me questions about TikTok or how to navigate Instagram well, because that isn't my jam, right? So I do have team members that help me with that. How does an entrepreneur still delegate that work to the appropriate team member, but still have control over their voice? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I tell people all the time, you probably have a bookkeeper. You probably have an accountant. You don't let them take your money home and put it in their bank account. It's still your freaking money. You're making the decisions. They're giving you advice. And then maybe they're even implementing strategies for you. So think of your words in the same way. So what I tell professionals is that you don't need to learn how to make TikTok videos, and you don't need to learn how to do all of these things, but you need to know your voice when you see it. You need to know when it's off, and you need to control the narrative. And that means knowing what your voice should sound like, the tone, the style, the words that you use. The tense you usually stay in. Do you tend to talk in future tense or past tense or present tense? Because otherwise those things will take over for you. And now AI makes it to some extent even worse. So AI is a great tool. If you can tell AI what you want, and you keep stressing, make this sound more and more like me, and it knows what you are, then you can work faster using AI. But if you don't, and you let AI take the lead, you will sound like every other person that does the thing that you do. To make it even worse, you will sound like every bro that does what you do. Because it likes that bro language, it likes that bro speak, and it will drag you over there. So you need to know when you're going off course. That makes sense. You don't have to do it, but you have to know when you have to hear your
Yeah.
voice when you hear it.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that, because just this morning I was reviewing a document prepared by one of my team members to go to a new team member. And it was that very thing. It was, I can't remember the section, but it was something about like key phrases
Yeah.
that I use. And I was like, I don't use those phrases. No. So I deleted them. I took
Yeah.
them all out.
What was the one that came up the other day? It was, it'll come to me. Maybe it was E-H.
Yeah.
I was doing something on AI and I said, I was just finding myself and I'm like, okay, I'm this age, I live in this place, I'm Canadian. And it started putting like EH in things. I'm like, I'm not a fishing person in Newfoundland. I'm what? But that's what it did. It just did it that way. Or sometimes there are also other things that you want in your voice. I'm not sticking on AI, but it happens if you're using a person as well, like gender neutral terms.
Mm.
I try very hard to use gender neutral terms. I think they're generally more respectful. But if you
Mhm.
don't do that, what can often happen is very quickly you can not only be a little disrespectful, but you can also find that the things you're throwing out there are more appealing to men than to women, to young than to old, or vice versa, or whatever. You start narrowing your audience, not based on what you want, but based on what these other people wanted or what AI want. They're just guessing. You're in charge of your ship. This is your journey. This is your career. And may I also say, nobody likes to work with somebody they can't remember.
Yeah,
So
that's
being
true.
memorable is more important than being perfect.
I love that. Do you see? Oh, wait, hold on. Do you see the sign? Progress over
Yeah.
perfection. Yeah. So the thing that says is boring, it says perfection. Wait, no, it says perfect is boring. But for years, I personally struggled with perfectionism and it stalled me big time. Right. So for me, I always like to have little reminders around me that are
Perfect
reminding
is
me
even,
not to be
perfect is
perfect.
even worse than boring.
Yeah.
Boring can stand out in a crowd. If you've ever gone to a party and there's that one person with a monotone, you sure as heck remember them. Like, oh my God, you didn't have to sit next to
Remember
Doug.
her?
Right, you remember them. Perfect is same. And
Mm,
that's what's really terrible. Perfect is not memorable. Isn't that shocking? You'd think it
that
would
is,
be. It's not.
I love how you put that, because so many times you try to be perfect because you
Yeah.
want to be memorable, right? And what you just said is exactly true. And it turns out being the opposite altogether.
Yeah. And in the world that we currently live in, where so much of what we do is how we show up in online spaces,
Mhm.
or even when we show up in real life spaces like networking events or sales events, you have to have some idea in your head. You can't just be a bumbling fool just spewing
Mhm.
words. You have to have it together in some way. So it's very important to have it in your mind, to know who you are, to have your confidence, and to hold on to it. I'll use an example. Many years ago, I think I was pregnant with our third child or something. We moved into our house and I decided to let this interior designer pick all the paint.
Okay.
So I had a red dining room. Well, I guess it wasn't red. It was some kind of weird wine color, apparently, but it looked red to me. And I had a dark green living room. People kept coming into my house and saying how nice it was. So I know it was nice.
Mhm.
Okay. I know it looked good. I felt so depressed. I felt like I was living in the Emerald Forest and I didn't
Mhm.
feel like myself again until many years later when I got this house back to being sort of light blues and yellows and
Because
soft,
that's your
because
vibe.
I
Yeah.
realized that it could be beautiful, it could be marvelous, but it wasn't me.
Mhm.
And the people who really thrive professionally and don't just do well, they're memorable, but they also really have fun doing it,
Mhm.
are always the people that are the most connected to their happy place.
Yes.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That gives me goosebumps, because it finding your happy place is the greatest gift that you can give to yourself. And for many, many years, I went through life where I talk about it in my book, where I was in the passenger seat. Life was just happening to me.
Yeah.
I was not in control. And honestly, I kind of forgot that I could get back in the driver's seat. And it wasn't until I did get back in the driver's seat and found my happy place that everything shifted for me. But I think so often people go through life just in the passenger seat.
Well, and I mean, the truth is your voice, your tone, your style, your words, your expressions, even your favorite punctuations. Yeah, are you the double exclamation point person?
Oh, yeah,
Who
look at
knows?
me
Maybe you are. I am not that person. Give me one. Why do you have two? But if that's who you are, there's no judgment. That is your power. That is who you are.
go.
Your logo is not the same.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, once you get it, you got it, and you can float that boat in any direction you want to take it.
That's so fun. It's freeing, actually, to think of it like that.
It is freeing. And it also makes you more confident, not only because you have this tool that maybe helps you professionally, but again, that thing that happened to you in elementary school where you started
Mm-hmm.
thinking that you had to outsource that was
Yeah.
the worst thing to give up on.
Yeah.
You have got to get back on that wagon. You have got to see yourself as a creative person, and guaranteed, if you are an entrepreneur, you are a creative person. Your little brain is turning like 17 hamsters on their own separate wheels. It is going all the time. There is nothing stagnant or swamp-like in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to take all that buzzy energy that you have as a professional, as an entrepreneur, and you have to accept that that is what creativity is. And now all you have to do is apply it to your own words. It's not hard.
I love that. So good. So good. All right. I want to ask you, people, when they hire me to help them scale their business and master their mindset so they can create success without burnout, okay? And feel in control of their business and also live with joy. And I feel like probably it brings me joy the most to help people with that because that's what I struggled with for so long. So I've been through that journey. And working with high achieving women specifically, I found that so many of them are dealing with imposter syndrome. In your words and in your experience, why do you feel like imposter syndrome sneaks up, and why does it sneak up even on highly capable people?
Oh my gosh, there's just not enough psychology books. There's a whole section in the books. Like, I mean, it's a section. I don't mean it's a piece of a piece. I mean, it's like 2 aisles with its own headline on the top, right? So we know it's a topic. I will argue that it happens to everyone. I
Mhm.
will argue that it has been made worse by the pace that we're trying to move forward at, which leaves us all feeling like we're scrambling and a little bit behind. Um,
Mhm.
but I think that for women, it is particularly difficult because we are being asked to do rub your head, scratch your belly at the same time.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, for example, if you have children, and you show an incredible enthusiasm for your career,
Mhm.
there's a part of you that feels like you're supposed to temper that. Oh my
Yep.
God, I love my career, but not like I love my children.
Mhm.
Well, what kind of guy does that? What kind of guy
Yeah.
goes, I'm really enjoying this $200,000 a year job and all my bonuses and perks and my plane travel. Love that trip to Europe, but love my kids more. We don't have that. Okay.
Right.
Um, there is a sense, and there is a sense that I think a lot of women have, that they come with an expiry date. That
Yep.
when you're in your 20s, you're too young and you're too pretty.
Mhm.
You gotta wait for those to pass.
I don't know
And
if I ever had the too pretty part
the
down.
young,
I don't know if I had that.
too pretty, too young, too pretty, too fluffy. People aren't taking you seriously because you're young. It's nothing to
Yes.
do with them and their terrible ways of approaching the world. It must just be you. You just got to wait that out. And then once you get to like 40, well, you're just near death, right? Like you're just waiting for the angel to come and take you. It's over. So you have this very limited time between 30 and 40 when you're trying to do all this stuff. And I think that these elements play into increasing, it doesn't cause it, but it increases it and it complicates it. And I also feel that maybe sometimes more than maybe men, women do tend to feel that they need to be slightly self-deprecating.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Don't
Yeah.
be so loud that that there's a risk of being too much. And
Yeah.
when there's such a big risk of being too much, it becomes easier to be too little.
Mm.
And imposter syndrome is really, I think sometimes it's rooted, it's not really rooted. There's a voice in your head that absolutely knows you rock. I
Hmm.
don't believe for a minute that that voice in your head is not there, but you don't know what to do with it. And
Yeah.
you feel like the other people around you have found that balance and you haven't. So I don't think it's that you don't believe you're good at something. I think it's that you don't believe you're going to find the right image that's going to
Interesting.
make everybody happy. And truthfully, horrible secret, you are not. So just let it go.
Yeah. It's so interesting to get your perspective on that. I I believe also that imposter syndrome comes from fear, right?
Yeah.
And so often fear is not factual. Fear is based in the limiting beliefs that occur from the teachers in elementary school who didn't put an apple by our name. But I mean,
Yeah.
limiting beliefs come from it could be a whole variety of things, but oftentimes they're born from when we were small children and we have retained those experiences and actually programmed our minds that they're true, even though they're not based in fact. So I'm curious, do you see that as well? Do you see that imposter syndrome is also a byproduct of fear in your work?
Oh, absolutely. And those are real things. Like our feelings are big. Those are,
Yeah.
we feel all the feels.
Yep. Yep.
That's just how it is. I find it's helpful when I help people separate sometimes the feelings from the reality and the reality from the fantasy. And when I say the fantasy, I mean when you talk to people being successful and you ask them what is successful, almost always they'll lead with money. It's the weirdest thing. I
Mhm.
mean, I don't care what you're selling. You can be, I sell nothing but yoga and meditation and happy life thoughts. What is success to you? $553,000 a year. I'm like, oh, like,
Alrighty then.
they're very, like it's very, very interesting. And so success, I believe, is about control. So success is the ability to control things like how many hours a week you work. Maybe you like working 50 hours a week, no shame in that, but it's
Mhm.
being able to control the conditions of your work world. It's
Mhm.
being able to control the results of your work, i.e., how much money you're going to make, what you're going to earn, and it's being able to reach your goals, which are not all financial. Often people have goals like they want to travel more
Mhm.
or they
Yep.
want to work out more. They'll have multiple goals that are factored into success. The problem is when we look at visions of success right now, we tend to see a lot of very, very fake stuff, right? Like we see the big giant influencers,
Yeah.
half of whom are not even real influencers. They're sitting in their basement somewhere with a really good backdrop. Like,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
but there's an illusion that it's the fast talking, extroverted, tech savvy,
Right.
that that's what it is. And it really doesn't have to be. So when you start laying out what do you want, what you may find is that person who identified that they need to make $1 million a year does not actually need to make $1 million a year. If their goal is to live in their hometown, if their goal is to have this travel time and whatever, and they can live in their hometown and travel to Europe 3 times a year on $350,000 a year, why the heck are they
Mhm.
doing this to
Right.
themselves?
Right.
Like maybe that's not, but because in their mind, that's what success looks like. They don't want
Yeah.
someone to look at them and feel like they're not, they don't want to have to explain it.
Mhm.
Or alternatively, if money is really important to you, stop pretending it's not.
Mm. Own it.
Own it. Like if all you want is money, go get that money. Like
Mhm.
I am vacation oriented. I want to sit on a beach at least 3 times a year for at least 9 days each time. I want to go to Europe at least once every year. I want to visit my kids no matter where they are, and I have too many kids. I want little staycations, spa days, mini holidays. Like I freaking want it all. I
Mhm.
want to be in this office doing really stuff I love, but
Mhm.
never more than 30 hours a week. Like
Yeah.
never, ever, ever. So that's what success looks like to me.
I love your perspective that success is about control. And I also think, again, that feeds into imposter syndrome. And I want to play this out with you for a hot second.
Yeah.
So, because success is about control, so many times I feel like people are gauging what they have control over, and they're not only focusing on them, well, they're not focusing on themselves, they're trying to control everything else and everyone else around them. And when we start to just look inward and realize that we can control ourselves, we can control our thoughts, our behaviors, our actions, our minds. And when we start to outline what we want and start to do the work to control ourselves again, put ourselves back in that driver's seat, that's how you can break through of imposter syndrome or feeling like you don't belong. When you're in the driver's seat and in control of your life and control of your thoughts, maybe that imposter syndrome goes out the window. What are your thoughts?
I think some things in life are easier said than done. And I feel
Yes.
like we're always going to have that little inkling that the grass is greener on the other side of the fence. That's a sayings for a reason because
Mhm.
it's true. We're always going to be looking. But once you have clearly identified who you are and what you want and what is important to you, then you build pathways to get to those things. So
Mhm.
I do, yeah, I believe that part of it is just honing in, breathing in, looking in, um,
Mhm.
and also identifying what you value and what you value in other people. Like for
Mhm.
example, let's say that you have a particular person in that does the same thing that you do. And you
Mhm.
just think they are the greatest thing since sliced bread. They are just the
Yep.
best.
Yep.
Why? Why do you think they are the best? Because sometimes you don't ask yourself why. You really
Mhm.
don't. Do you feel like they're the best because they make a certain amount, like write down everything that makes you think they're the best. And you'll find it'll get off money fairly quickly and you'll start to go to, they seem so happy. They're so energetic. They're so charged. They are seen well balanced. You'll list all of these things. Then you can start knocking them off on your own list. You
Mm.
know, like maybe that imposter syndrome, maybe you can't be everything they are, but maybe you can be the important parts. And the other one I tell folks is happiness is very attractive. It just is. Happiness is attractive in any line of work that you're in. Confidence and happiness is attractive.
Mhm.
And happiness is actually not even a goal. Happiness is just a moment. I am
Yep.
sitting here right now in my office, and it is my choice to be happy or not happy.
Amen.
That's it. That's all you have to do is just decide you're
Yep.
going to have it in the moment. So tapping into those things, that's important. I think
Yeah.
if you're just looking out a lot, imposter syndrome is about looking out and really owning your voice and meeting your goals is generally found by looking in.
So good. That's so good.
And it does happen, by the way, in brand voice work. In brand voice work, we often tend to start with folks identifying the things that they want, and they identify the things people they like and the things about those people's voices that they like. And I think that's a really good starting point. But then at
Mhm.
some point, we really do have to talk about if you're an introvert, you are never going to be Tom Cruise jumping on the sofa at Oprah. It's
Right.
not going to be your future. So
Right.
you got to get more real and attuned to yourself somewhere in there.
I also want to ask you about the notion of being everything to everyone, because that can also potentially feed into imposter syndrome. There's this pressure, right? Like, oh, I have to deliver. Or you think, again, the person that you look at and you think is successful, well, they have this, this, and this, and they do that, that, and that. And I'm curious your perspective when you're working with people about not trying to be everything to everyone, but just being yourself. Is there a magic trick to that?
No, I am no. I mean, seriously, I am a married woman with 3 children. I have been everything to everyone for decades. I am pretty confident that I have my finger on the heartbeat of the universe, and that if I drop for a minute, whew, heads will roll.
Yes.
Me alone, keeping everything in space. That's, I don't know if it's imposter syndrome. It's just a whole other syndrome. No, I don't. I think what I'm saying is no one can be everything to everyone, and innately we do all know that.
Yeah.
So the important thing, but you can be something very valuable to someone.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, part of that whole imposter syndrome too is tied into that. Because when you're trying to cast your net this wide and you want everyone to love you and everyone to want to be you, you got to have a lot of breadcrumbs to make that happen. But if you hone it in a little more and you think, who is the right client for me? What is the right environment for me? Who is the person that's really going to love me? You'll get a deeper connection. You'll get a more valuable connection.
I love that.
Even if you think Hollywood, because people love Hollywood, there are character actors and there are movie stars.
Yep.
Now, character actors, they thrive on the fact that they can turn into somebody else in a heartbeat. Career out of being anybody you want them to be.
Yep.
Hollywood stars, on the other hand, sometimes get a little limited, don't they? Because I don't care what you put Hugh Jackman in, he's Hugh Jackman.
Yep.
End of freaking story. So star power is a different thing. So maybe part of it is, do you really want to be a character actor? Because I don't think most of us really do. We want a little more star power. And star power is about rising above the noise and owning the space that is the best for you. It is not about staying in the noise and trying to own every part of that space.
So good. I'm curious, in your work, how long does it typically take people to find the space that's right for them? Like, what does that process look like? Because I would imagine for some folks versus others, it could be more difficult or may take more time. But if someone is listening and going, I really feel like I need to
do something,
do something about this, what should they expect?
Okay, so first of all, this is my pitch, and it really is like, I swear I only did this because a lot of folks would come to me when they really didn't need to, or they weren't ready to do the really big stuff, right? And you're churning through money to pay someone like me to walk you through easy peasy things. And if you just did the easy peasy stuff yourself, I can still be there on the other end, but you can certainly get more value out of me and give me less money, if I'm putting it bluntly. So a while back, I made like a really quick little own your brand course. It's really simple. It's like every day for 7 days, you get a message in your inbox. And it just asks you a question. It's got a little activity to make you think about your voice, how you present yourself, what you want to do. It's free. So that's the easiest thing. If you went to my website, kimscaravelli.com, you sign up, I get your email, which is exciting because then I send you my newsletter. But other than that, you just go take the course. I'm a really big fan of that, only because I think that you can do a lot of this yourself. And I think the more you can do yourself, the better equipped you are when you do run into someone like myself to help you get there. Because my purpose isn't necessarily to, I'm not a therapist. Right. My job is to help you stand out from the crowd in a way that is sustainable for you. My job is to make sure that you can tell all these folks that you might have maybe working for you, or you can tell all the little AI bots that you have trying to help you who you are, and you can make sure that they keep being you instead of you suddenly becoming them.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So free things, I'm a big fan. Also a big fan of doing creative stuff that's outside of your space. Imposter syndrome lives in perfection, right? You're trying to be perfect. So if you can't draw a square on a piece of paper, take an art class. If you struggle with writing a sentence, take a poetry class. I'm honestly not kidding. Go somewhere where you're going to be the worst possible person in the room at that thing. And just do it. Just do it for the shits and giggles of doing it. And will be incredibly helpful.
Interesting. That's
Yeah.
so interesting. I haven't planned on taking any art classes, but I cannot draw in a straight line to save my life. I can't do anything in a straight line. I can't cut in a straight line. Even the wrapping paper that has the grids, I can't even put
Oh,
that on the line. It's crazy.
yeah.
It's crazy.
I understand. My husband took him years to learn how to wrap a present. He used to bring presents to me like he was some sort of small child person, right? Help me. It is some help me.
Yes.
Like, you own a company, dude.
Yeah.
Get it together. Watch a video, Like,
That is
but it was the
awesome.
same problem. He couldn't get in line. He couldn't line. Yeah, it was the thing. So
Mhm.
I do understand that struggle. I believe it's
Mhm.
real. I don't know why, but I do know that it is real. But there is genuine power and genuine joy, even if you can't let go at work. Go do something you are going to be crappy at and just do it anyway, not
Mhm.
for the purpose of becoming better at it. I have no hand-eye coordination. I went and took tennis lessons. I was the most uncoordinated person ever to try to take tennis lessons. Everyone on the court was decades younger than me, and it was awful. But I had the greatest time.
Mhm. 'Cause
Okay.
there were no expectations, maybe. You didn't have
I
any
didn't think for a
expectations.
minute that I was going to be the best. And I watched them trying so hard to really master the art of tennis. And I felt for them because honestly, I was just happy that I was getting a workout and I was meeting some new people. And I never thought for a minute I'd be really good at it. So I was just having the greatest old childlike time. And if you think about it, when you were younger, very few of the things that you did because you were trying to learn something or succeed at something. You just did it because it looked like something fun to do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so
Just do
true.
stuff that looks like something fun. Not all day. I mean, we all have to get our lives together and nobody wants dinner that's burnt. But in general, find a few things you think you're bad at and do them anyway. Because worst case scenario, you're bad and you learn how to be bad at something and own it. And you learn that you don't melt and you don't
Right?
catch fire and it's okay. And best case scenario, you actually discover you weren't even that bad at it.
So good. I love it. I love
Thank
it.
you.
Okay. Now, I want to, before you go, I want to ask you a few very specific questions I call the $1,000,000 moves. Okay.
Okay.
Because, because around here, I believe that success isn't just about money. Like you said, it's about bold decisions, mindset shifts, powerful pivots that can really change the game.
Yes.
So let me ask you this. What is $1,000,000 move you've made in your life or in your business? Something that maybe reshaped or shifted things for you that set you on a new path?
I changed what I felt scaling upwards was. For a long time I had very traditional business enterprises, and scaling up generally involved more premises, more inventory, more staff, more overhead. That was
Mhm.
what it felt like. And because of that, scaling up was very scary. Like,
Mm,
you really had to have yourself in the game because it was going to be a thing and failure was high. When I started reimagining what scaling up looked like, and I started to recognize, for example, among other things, go to a market where their dollar is more valuable than their dollar. Go to Europe.
mhm.
Get paid in European euros for a while. It's good stuff. Um, Sometimes scaling up, here's another example. Instead of going with the employee model, I started going with the collaborative partnership model, where if I need, 5 people to do 5 different tasks for me, let's get people that are good at those tasks. Let's work with them. Let's do a work exchange. You do this for me. I'll do this for you. We'll both cross promote, whatever you want to call it. It's
Mhm.
getting you a higher caliber person
Mhm.
without the risk that goes with that. I also
Mhm.
learned that sometimes scaling up can be adding intangibles. It can be adding things that nibbly bits, things that people can buy. When they buy your big thing, they can buy the small thing. Scaling up. Once I figured out that scaling up did not require hiring more people or having more square footage, holy crap, you can make a lot more money once you let go of that idea. It's
Love
just like
that.
the golden doors open and all the risk goes down and the
Yeah.
profit margin goes up.
How did you learn that? Did somebody teach you that or?
Hard knocks, woman, hard knocks. I mean, you had to really beat it into me. Well, because again, I had had a couple of brick and mortar type
Mhm,
successes that were
mhm,
sold that did make good money. And so I had that in my head. And I
mhm,
had a background of working with Dun& Bradstreet, a financial services company, where a lot of the things they were judging companies on were things like how many employees do you have and how many years have you been
mhm,
in business and how many offices do you have? So it was hard to let go of it. What happened with me is that I kept trying to scale up and hitting these weird obstacles. Like I would
mhm,
not really have enough money to bring in a really amazing person to handle some sales element. So instead, I would bring in 2 students, both on a program. I would
mhm.
spend the summer trying to show them what to do. I would end up getting maybe 4 productive weeks of work, and then they would go back to school. And like you had to just keep doing it till you thought, why am I sweating so hard? Why is this so impossible? And
Right.
then you start going out in the world, mixing, seeing other people, realizing they're having the same challenges. And at some point, my little noggin just made the connection. Why am I trying to hire someone to do social media when I know a social media strategist? Why
Mhm.
is she trying to hire someone to improve her brand voice when she knows how to do all the technical parts? Why aren't we doing
Collaborating. Right.
this thing? Yeah. And I do believe, okay, here comes my sexist. It's my only sexist thing. If you've ever watched
We're
Survivor,
prepping. We're
if you
prepping.
watch Survivor, you will see that on every single season of Survivor, the first thing that seems to happen is the women all clump together and form a squad. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it doesn't last very long, but they will do it. And there is a naturally collaborative thing that seems to be everyone can do it, but I think sometimes women do it more readily
Mhm,
or with less ego involved or less of a need
mhm,
to have a hierarchy within that collaboration. And so it
mhm.
becomes quite natural. So to all entrepreneurs and women in general, I'd say look around you people. Look around. Who's got skills that match with your skills? Who can pull you up while you pull them up?
Yeah.
Because you can both scale at the same time and not increase your expenses.
Love that.
And it is a fast way to fly. Like,
Love
honest
that.
to God, it's amazing. Yeah.
So good. So good. Such great advice. Okay. Now you might have already just answered this,
That was
but
a
I'm gonna
tough
ask
question.
it
I'm ready.
What's $1 million move you think more women in business need to make, but often avoid?
Oh, that's a tough one because I don't want to add guilt to any female entrepreneurs. And I think that ultimately we're working with some pretty significant systemic issues. We have an incredible problem getting financing. It is so much harder for us. We don't get positions on boards. We struggle to get mentors that are higher up the ladder than us. We don't get pulled along as readily. So I don't want to give anybody, real guilt about that. But I would say that for a lot of women, owning your confidence, not seeing that eye contact. I heard this interview with Isabella Rossellini, and someone was asking how she stretched this modeling career so long. And she said the funniest thing. It was like, just a blip. She goes, well, I have a really beautiful face. I mean, it was just a sentence. And then she went on. Well, objectively, the woman has an incredibly beautiful face, right? Like, duh. But I've met some beautiful women, and I never heard one actually say, I have a really beautiful face.
Right?
Own it. Just freaking own it. I tell people all the time, folks love me. Well, that sounds like a ridiculous thing to say, but you know what? They do. I am lovable. I am freaking
I
lovable.
love you. I know. I just want to sit
So
down and go on a trip with you.
no. So
Let's go to
it's not a
Europe
good thing or a
together.
bad thing. It's just a thing. And I'm sure I scratch some people the wrong way, and I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but for the most part, I'm kind of lovable. Folks think I might be a fun person to go have a drink with. Own it. Find that thing about you that is magical because we've all got it and just own it. Stop thinking you have to push it down just a little so you don't look like you're too much.
Mm-hmm.
You are not too much. You are just the right, perfect chef's kiss amount of that thing. So just own it.
Love it. Kim, this is so amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us. I want to ask you, if someone again is watching this or listening and thinking, I gotta take this lady's free course. I love her too. What is the best place for them to find you
Oh, it's
online?
really easy. I gave up on all. Oh, that would be another one. Use your name. For Pete's friggin' sakes, use your name. Don't make up some weird moniker that no one can understand. No, I mean, I have been a million things, and now I'm just Kim Scaravelli, except my accountant, where I'm still a numbered company with 7 weird things in it. But in the real world, I'm Kim Scaravelli. So if you go to kimscaravelli.com, there'll be a link there if you want to go buy my book. There'll be a link if you want to take that free course. I think there's a funky little quiz in there. It has a dog and a superhero cape. It's kind of cool. And you can honestly, you can even book a free chat, because I don't charge anyone for the first conversation because I think it's insulting.
Yeah.
Like, I think the kind of work that I do, if you're charging someone to find out if we would be a good fit, it feels like you're
Right.
charging them before they're even in the store. It
Right.
doesn't make sense to me, right?
Right.
So there you go. KimScaravelli.com. Whatever the heck it is you want, I'm positive it's there. And there's also my Instagram feed, which today is just a bunch of pictures of snow.
I love it. Well, I am so grateful for you being here. Thank you again. And we will drop your link to your website in the show notes. So,
Well,
yeah.
may I say, it was, as we say in Atlantic Canada, hoot and holler. It was just a great time. And anytime, I would love to hear from you again. Bye.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Bye.
haven't got your book. As an aside, I'm only halfway through it, but it's really good. Really, everyone should buy her book. It's really good.
I love that. Thank you. I love
I
that. Okay, I'm going to end the